Big title, Unlocking Potential of Your Organization Through Productivity. What is it all about? Mark, what are you going to talk to us about today? It's basically doing more of what your customers are willing to pay you for and less of what your customers aren't willing to pay you for. Why do it? Why even listen to this presentation? We've talked about this morning, competition isn't getting any easier. And your competitors are trying to do everything they can to undermine all of your efforts. Profits aren't what they should be, aren't what they want to, what you want them to be. Maybe they're growing, maybe they're not growing fast enough, maybe they're staying the same, maybe they're decreasing. Employee satisfaction, are you getting everything out of your employees that they bring to the party? Yeah, you're getting their arms and legs, but are you getting their hearts and souls? And improving asset utilization. Is throwing money at the problem the answer? Is buying that brand new machine the real answer to the problem? Or are you really automating an inefficient process? And then there's, okay, we want to do something to improve productivity, but which one? There's a litany of processes, of methodologies. There's a host of books. I know, we wrote one. So, which one to do? Is there a right one? Often the answer is it's a combination of a number of these different techniques. And then there's the challenge of implementing change in any organization. We talked about which method to use, but the attitude of the employees, of your management staff. Is it the flavor of the month and it'll go away next month and be replaced by something else? Or is it real change in the organization that we need to look and pay attention to? Are managers feeling like this effort undermines their authority and therefore they don't have complete buy-in? Are the employees worried about, if I do a good job here, do I lose my job? Do I work myself out of a job? And the thing that is on the tombstone of every company that's gone out of business, we've never done it that way before. To successfully implement any kind of productivity improvement program, you need a number of different things. You need a clear customer-centric business vision and goal. If your company isn't embracing what your customers are looking for, those are the people that are paying the bill, it'll never be able to succeed. As Larry and Stacy have talked about, you need to have employees that feel that they have the tools, they have the authority to make changes and to do things differently to help their organization. They need benchmarks, they need roadmaps to say, where are we going as an organization? And to be able to look back and say, wow, that's where we've been. For years, we've run a little analytical process with companies, and we give them a score. And a number of companies have come back year after year after year going, all right, we've made some improvements, now what's our score? Because they want to know, and they want to know what they have to do better. But they want to know the progress and realize the progress of where they've been. Communication, if we're not as managers and as leaders walking the talk, then it doesn't matter what the effort is, because the people at the top don't support it. That's what our actions will say unless we're walking the talk. We need to have cross-functional teams. We need to have everyone involved in a process so that we get all the viewpoints and not assume what they are. There are no sacred cows. Nothing can't be touched in a process where you're looking to improve productivity. And we need to celebrate the things that we've done right and learn from the missteps, because they're always going to be there. Now, how do we do this? First of all, most important thing, create a daily, very, very timely dashboard. Identify in your organization the 6, 10 key performance indicators, those metrics that are important to your organization that measure where the organization's at. Is it the daily sales? Is it dollars shipped? Is it dollars received? sales per employee, hours worked versus hours that you've invoiced, whatever it is, those are the metrics that you can look at every single day and say, are we going to make our game? Are we going to make our goal this month, or are we not going to make our goal? But it's important that not we as managers know that, but all the employees know that. Just measuring the KPIs of your organization, you're going to get a 5 to 10% gain in productivity, because what gets measured gets improved. You don't have to do another thing and you'll gain. But I encourage you to do more. I encourage you to meet with your employees and let them know what that dashboard is, so that they understand what those KPIs are, and most important, so that they understand how their individual efforts affect that KPI. Because it's only then that they have a clear and consistent vision of what they need to do day in and day out to help the organization. If it's just a KPI, it's a nebulous term to them. But if they see how they affect it in their daily life, from clerks, managers, whatever, everybody's got to have that path that they know how they affect it. Understanding how they can impact KPIs gets meaningful results, and you get another 10 to 20% improvement in productivity. And finally, begin value mapping processes. Take a look at your 5 most troublesome or capital invested or whatever processes in your organization, and understand where you're creating value in that process and where you're not creating value. Not creating value is non-value added time. Eliminate it as much as you can. Doing that gets you another 20 to 30% on top of everything that you have. So what's a value mapping process? Here's a typical day of a machine operator. Starts off, sets up his or her machine, runs parts. All of a sudden, I don't have enough raw material. Got to go hunt for raw material. Got to get the tow motor operator to bring the raw material to the machine. Starts up the machine again. We've cut back because profitability isn't what it's supposed to. We're not doing preventive maintenance, so the machine breaks down. The operator goes and says, oh, it's not too bad, I can fix that. Goes to look for the tools that are supposed to be there at the workstation. They're not, because they weren't put back in the right spot. Goes off, finds that, does the repairs on the machine, maybe calls maintenance in or others, runs parts again. Then they have to tear down from that setup and build another setup, run parts again. At the end of the day, they've contributed 8 hours worth of labor. But you're only getting paid for 2 1/4 of those hours. Because everything else, there's no customer that's ever going to pay for that. It's just overhead, it's wasted time and profit. And that's a typical day if you don't do any measurement, if you don't do any improvement. And it's just not an individual sitting in front of a machine, it can also be a process. We worked for a client a number of years back that made custom wood architectural pieces. And they had a finite time from the time the customer said, I want that, to the time that it had to be delivered on the job site. Well, we looked at the process and said, okay, you've got some inefficiency on the shop floor. We fixed that, but we determined that the biggest problem was in order entry, because it was literally taking 12 days from the time the customer said, this is what I want, until that order hit the shop floor. And you say, Mark, that's ridiculous. We agree. Looked at it, and there's all kinds of time. That box that's there is the order entry process. In all of those inboxes were times when things were sitting, waiting for decisions, waiting for comment, waiting for something, getting additional information, whatever it happened to be. It was 12 days. The shop was always behind and trying to catch up to make that delivery time. We revised it. We took all of the decision makers, rearranged desks, literally, no investment. we put all of those people together, and that order entry process then took 15 minutes. Because if there was a question, you'd ask the person in bill of material, you'd ask the person in costing, you'd ask the person in production. You could get an answer right then and there and move that forward. All of a sudden, this company was shipping on time, every time, because we improved that process. So improving productivity can be daunting, but you can break it down easily. Create that time card, that scorecard. Let your employees know how they impact that scorecard and where you want it to go, and then begin that process of value stream mapping. It doesn't have to be glorified charts like I have up there. It can be on a whiteboard. But look at what are we doing in each and every step of the process? Are we adding value? Why are we doing that step? And do we really need to do that step? And at the end of the day, you say, Mark, that's a lot. I'm not sure we're ready to do that. And I just encourage you, as General Patton said, a good battle plan that you can act on today is far better than a perfect one tomorrow. Your competitors aren't waiting for you to get a better plan. Your customers aren't willing to pay for your inefficiency. And your stakeholders, they want results right now. And now is the time to act. Thank you very much, and thank you for attending. We'll be happy to answer questions.